Okay, hello everyone. Let's get started. So today, as it was promised, we'll talk about variables. What is a global variable? What is a local variable? What is a constant? What is a use case for each of these types? And so on. What are the advantages, for example, of using local variables or preferring local variables over global ones? So as a reminder, last time we talked about method overloading in Java. So if you haven't watched this video, that's the right time to do that. So the link should appear on the top right corner right now. Okay, so let's start. So I have created a new class variables where I will demonstrate the code. Okay, so first, so I have already created or generated method main. Let's create two additional methods. Okay, let it be void test method without any input parameters. And let's create another one, test method 2. Okay, and let's define a variable int a2, and here int a3, for example. Okay, and as you can see, I don't have any errors from the compiler, despite the fact that I use the same variable name, a, yeah, so for variable declaration. So I declare here a variable a, and here I also declare a variable a, but still I don't have any errors. The thing is that in each case, this variable a is a local variable. It means it exists only in the context of this particular method. So the universal recipe how to understand whether it's a global or local variable, like in our case, is just to look where it is declared. Yeah, so the variable is accessible only inside the brackets where it's declared. So for example, int a is declared inside these two brackets. It means that int a is also available only here. So here in this method, this variable a is not available anymore. So that's the reason why actually we can here declare another variable with the same name, because test method 2 knows nothing about this variable because it's declared here. So the local variable is a variable which is declared inside a method, and because of that, it's also available only inside that particular method. So all other methods doesn't know anything about this variable. So that's a local variable. And we would like to use a local variable when we need it for storing some info which is relevant only for this particular method. Yeah, like counter, for example. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense for any other method to access this variable. So we would like to declare it as a local one. Another thing is that since a local variable exists only inside a particular method, it also allows us to save some memory, because this variable will be created only when we call that method, and once this method is terminated, the content of that variable and variable as such will be cleared by garbage collector. So that's why whenever we can, we should stick to using local variables, not global ones. And if we talk about global variable, that's a variable which is declared outside of any method. And it means that it's automatically available anywhere in the program, right? So the universal rule int b is declared inside that bracket. So it means it's available everywhere inside that bracket. So it means that int b can be accessed both by main, by test method, and test method too, because it's a global one, right? And if you wonder why we use static modifier, that's a modifier which should be used for variables and for methods in a class which is not supposed to be used for object creations. So that's just for now. To remember, we'll talk about that in more details when we'll talk about method modifiers. But just for your knowledge right now, static is used for method or for variable declaration in a class which is not supposed to have any objects, right? Okay, so int b, let's check. Since int b is declared to be a global variable, it should be accessed everywhere. So inside test method, yeah, absolutely. Test method too, yeah. And main, okay, we don't have any compilation errors. We can also launch that program. Okay, so everything works fine. Okay, so let's call it C, for example. Yeah, and if now we will try to call C here, for example, we have an error. Yeah, because int C is a local variable which is available only inside test method. So test method 2 knows nothing about variable C, and that's why we have here a error. So C cannot be resolved to a variable because test method 2 knows nothing about this C, right? Okay, so the next question is if we will try to declare a local variable with the same name as we have a global one. Yeah, so you see we have a global variable with name b, and also here, okay, let's comment it out. And we have also a local variable b defined here. So global variable b, local variable b. Yeah? And as you see, we don't have any compilation errors, right? So the question is which variable b it is, whether it's a local variable b or it's a global variable b. So let's try to call that method, and well, just to see what happens. So let's call this test method. So from main, let's launch. Okay, and as you see, as a result, we have 5, meaning that here we refer to local variable b, not to global one. Yeah, and that's the rule. So if we have local variable and global variable with the same name, and we try to access that variable by name, we always take a local variable, not a global one, like we have here. Yeah? So if we would like here to take a global variable, not a local b, so before the variable name, we should specify a class name, okay, like I did. So by this, we say that we access variable b from class variables. And since b is the only global variable, so we have only one global variable with the name b, and that's the case. We can't have multiple global variables with the same name. So here, compiler knows that this b is a global variable b. And if we launch that program, now you can see that the value is 1 because this b is a global variable. Yeah? So if we don't put class name, so here it's assumed that we use a local variable. Okay, that's a very important point to remember. And finally, what is a constant? The constant basically is a variable which uses a word final as a modifier, meaning that the value for the constant, so the variable which uses final, can be assigned only once when we declare it. So after that, we cannot change the value of that variable. Okay, so for example, here we declare it as being 1, and we try to assign 7. And here we have that final field b cannot be assigned, meaning that it's a constant and compiler doesn't allow us to change the value. And also depending on where we declare that constant, it could be a local constant, or it could be a, like here it's a local constant and here it's a global constant. And the use case for a constant is we would like to use it when we declare some variable whose value will not change all the time. So to sum up, local variable is declared inside a method and is accessible only from that method. Global variable is defined on a class level and is accessible by any method inside that class. If we have a global variable and a local variable with the same name, and we try to access this variable by name, we will always access a local variable. To explicitly state that we would like to access a global variable, not a local variable with the same name. Before a variable name, we should state a class name. And constant, that's a variable, either a global or local one, which uses a modifier final, meaning that the value of that variable cannot be changed. So once we have assigned a value to that variable, the value cannot be changed, right? Okay, so basically that would be all for today. So hopefully video was useful for you and you liked it. Still, if you have some questions, something is not clear, just feel free to ask by pasting a comment under that video. If for some reasons you are not still subscribed to this channel, it's the right time to do that. Also, don't forget to visit my website available at blog.dataguru.guide, where I post some interesting info related to Java, to big data technologies, to programming in general. So just bookmark that page and visit it from time to time. But that's all for today from my side. Thanks to all for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.